Welcome in, race fans. This is episode 1 of my brand new show, Bleachers and Features, my weekly show covering the world of racing and my adventures through it. Coming to you live from South Bend, Indiana, and Buju HQ, which just sounds better than from my basement. From Bullrings to From Bullring B mains to Cup Series Sundays. Let's talk race cars, friends. So we're recording this instead of doing it live. The initial intention was to do it live, but that felt a little ambitious off the jump for the show. So we're going to record it and maybe do a live segment. Well, we'll feel it out and see how that goes. But recording it for now, a little more comfortable for the debut of the show. This will be a solo episode. I will have guests at some point. It'll be a different flavor of interview or back and forth than we have with guests on the Monday Night Rewind on Top Row Racing Media. But we will have guests at some point. But this one is going to be just me. So this is going to be a real barometer of how much you like me. The show will change and evolve over time. I'm going to have new ideas and stuff like that. But this is Bleachers and Features. Welcome in. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully we do this for a long time. And hopefully it changes and evolves as we go. But thank you for being here for this one. I want to talk about this past racing weekend on July 4th. So we're going to end up covering 2 weekends on this show because I'll record a segment after this weekend and whatever happens this weekend when I record at New Paris. But you'll hear this in all one deal thanks to old movie magic. But I want to talk about this July 4th weekend. I raced myself this weekend for the first time in a while. So I'm a 4-cylinder driver, a Hornet racer, bang banger. Mini stocks, bang bangers, 4 bangers, whatever you want to call us. I know that's not a race car to all of you, but hey, that's what I got. That's what I can afford. You say I can't go racing because I'm broke, then hey. But I got myself a front-wheel drive. Been racing in the Outlaw front-wheel drive 4-cylinder class the previous 2 years, and wasn't having much fun. It's costing me a lot of money to not be competitive, so I decided I'm going back Hornet racing and having fun again. And with Hornets on the schedule for my home track, South Bend Motor Speedway, on July 4th, that feels like an awesome opportunity to get back in the race car and go Hornet racing with the people that I started racing with. I'm also very fidgety. You're going to figure that out as you listen to this show. If you're a visual listener, you're going to see me touching my nose and my face and my chin and all this back and forth in the chair and all that stuff all the time. So you're going to have to forgive me on that, but hey, that's me, baby. But yeah, that felt like a great opportunity to get back out there. South Bend Motor Speedway means a whole hell of a lot to me. You see it behind me back there. I love the South Bend Motor Speedway. So getting the opportunity to race with the people that I started racing with in the class that I started in and have had the most fun and success in at the place I've had the most fun and success, and that I started going to the racetrack, it was just the perfect storm to get back in the race car. Unfortunately, Saturday didn't go great. But hey, I still had a blast. So unloaded my car, and I truly waited till the last minute to try and get out there. I did everything in a week to get back to Hornet legal and back on the racetrack. Stock springs and taking the spoiler and side windows out and all that fun stuff, all the go fast stuff, all the stuff that was supposed to make me go fast, but yeah. So took all that out, got it back Hornet legal, got to the track, and it started like sputtering in lineups for first practice, untimed practice. I thought it was kind of seemed like it was like maybe idling low and was trying to die, but then the tack started going crazy. So I knew it wasn't going to be great, but it was already at the point like we got to go onto the track and see what it does now. And as soon as they gave us the green, it just would no go, just bad. It didn't die right away, but then my brain shut off and I tried to pull into the infield, forgetting that you're supposed to pull out the top at South Bend because it'd been so long. That was embarrassing. Tried to pull into the infield. It was flooded, so there was nowhere to go in. So I had to keep going around on the bottom. That was embarrassing. JD, the flagman, twice had to tell me to get to the top because like I said, brain shut off. That was very embarrassing, trying to get off the track with the car going bop, 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 bop. That stunk. I felt this big when that was going on. But hey, mistakes happen, right? So car wouldn't refire once we got it back to the pit stall and it finally died out. Wouldn't refire after that, so we changed the ignition control module. Shout out to my brother Drew going to the shop and back to the track. South Bend's the only track we can still do that. So bringing me another ignition control module to put on the car, and that did refire it, and everything seemed fine. Went out for qualifying, put myself 5th on the full board, despite being incredibly rusty and terrible in that session. Man, I was bad. Couldn't enter worth a crap. I was driving it like I was still on Hoosiers, and yeah, I wasn't good, but the car was. And put us P5 on the board, and then in the heat race, it did the same thing that it did in first practice. So tried to change that ICM again, and it just wouldn't refire that time, and by that the feature was already lined up, so it was just too late, and I didn't make it out there for the feature, unfortunately. But like I said, it was a great night otherwise, and we'll get into the rest of that night. But to do that, I got to rewind back to Friday. So I was throwing my car together Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I did the Thursday night throttle on Top Row Racing Media on Thursday, so it was unavailable on Thursday night as well. So finally Friday morning, had the day off Friday, was able to make it out Friday morning to North Liberty to help my buddy Evan Verdine and his dad Mike Verdine, as well as our buddy Hudson, finish up the old Saturn that he won in a waffle on Tuesday. So won a very rusted out, very not even roadworthy Saturn on Tuesday that was just sitting in somebody's yard. Picked that up Tuesday night, got to the shop, decided they're going to turn it into a Hornet, started tearing it apart, all that. They were thrashing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like I said, I finally got out there Friday, and I'm not going to act like I contributed much, if anything, on Friday either. I'm very much not a fabricator, and I'm barely a parts changer. So there wasn't a lot I could contribute outside of moral support and making sure the tensions didn't get too high in crunch time to get that car ready for Saturday. But it finally got wrapped up about 12:30 in the morning. We were standing around the car, just talking, like chatting about, and then Mike and Evan were talking about how fun it was to kind of throw the car together and hoping that Saturday went well to be the cherry on top and all that. And as we're standing around having that conversation, the power goes out. It was raining cats and dogs. It was storming, but the power goes out, and that didn't feel like a great omen in the moment. But so yeah, I ended up going to bed, whatever. Finally get out of there. Saturday rolls around. I head home, load my car up, get to the track, and I had my issues that I've already talked about. But Evan has a little bit better day than I did. He qualified into the B feature, which is where he wanted to be with his 100 horsepower and rusted out suspension that was still on the car. He's happy to be in the B feature. He was in there with his Uncle Ronnie, who's my best friend of 20 years. His sister Kaylee was in the same race. Ronnie's fiance Cheyenne was in that race as well, I believe. So yeah, it ended up being a family affair in the B feature, and it was a blast to watch. And Evan and that 72-hour Saturn ended up winning the B feature. And man, that like I talked about when we were standing around Friday in the shop when the power went out, how a good day on Saturday would be the cherry on top. Boy, was it, because man, that just made it such a fun experience. Being there Friday, like it was a 14-hour day from when I showed up to when we wrapped up. 14 hours just on Friday. That's not including what they did Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and then what we did on Friday. It just felt so old school and so grassroots racing. Like, it felt like this is what it's supposed to be about. And it being a B feature almost made it better. You got to win the ones you're in, and that car was a B feature car. It was in the B feature, and it won. And it was an awesome race to watch. Kaylee finished second and was charging on the top side at the end. Was racing with her Uncle Ronnie for pretty much the whole race. It was just, that's what racing is supposed to be about. And like, people discount 4-cylinder cars and Hornet racing and all that stuff, but there aren't very many people that were in a Hornet on Saturday that didn't have an absolute blast. And if that's not what racing is supposed to be about, then I think we've all lost the plot. Awesome day of racing for the 4-cylinder Hornet division at the high banks and bright lights of South Bend Motor Speedway. I didn't watch a ton of the Night of Destruction stuff, so it was Hornet racing, Night of Destruction, and fireworks. If somehow you're listening to this show and don't know that, but I didn't watch a ton of the Night of Destruction stuff. After the Hornet racing was over, I was just kind of focused on hanging out with my friends and chilling at the racetrack. You know, don't get very many opportunities, and don't know how many more opportunities you're going to have to do that at South Bend Motor Speedway. So wanted to take advantage of that and soak in the atmosphere for however many more times we get to that. I did watch some of it. Cheyenne, again, Milbourne won the ladies race. Saw that. Saw the trailer races. This isn't like a bash or this is just a small critique. If I could change one thing about how the Night of Destructions are, if somebody's pretty dominant in a certain event, make sure they start at the back. That's it. And I think they're working on that. I think I heard talk of that after the racing on Saturday. I don't want to make that sound like it's official or anything. I think they were discussing that already. But if I could change one thing, it would just be try and spice that up a little bit. Maybe make those trailer races and maybe make it a little harder on Cameron Mester, who is awesome at them. All the credit in the world to him. But as a fan, I would just like to see it maybe a little harder on him at times. But shout out to Cameron. I mean, kicks everybody's ass in those things, and it's for a reason. So kudos to him. Then Sunday, I went to the Cup race at Chicagoland. First Cup race at Chicagoland since 2018 or 2019 or whatever, and my first Cup race in a long time. Sort of. I did go to a road course race at Indy. I barely count that. I mean, it was cool to hang out with my friends at the racetrack. It's cool to be at Indy, but the race itself, as a product, watching a road course race at Indy, sitting in what's turn 4 of the oval, but turn 1 of the road course. It was the race that Kyle Larson forgot to turn, so that was kind of cool to see. But other than that, it was just, I don't know. It was whatever. The last race I was at before that, I'm pretty sure, was Dale Jr. winning the Batman car at Michigan after the long losing streak. And the crowd that day was pretty special. But until this Sunday, that was my last real NASCAR race, what I consider going to a Cup race. Ooh, kicking stuff over. But so we were a victim of the traffic situation that has been such a talking point on NASCAR social media since the race happened. But the race itself was awesome. I loved the race. Long green flag runs. I think the entire last stage was green, which I believe was 102 laps or something like that. My left ear just finally stopped ringing today. Today's Wednesday that I'm recording this, after that long green flag run at the end. But I loved the race with green flag pit stops and everything I could ask for with the way the current races are formatted. It was as good of a race as I could ask for, honestly. Maybe some more lead changes, but I mean, it was tight racing for the lead the whole race, so I felt like anyway. And tons of those guys at the back of the pack raced the hell out of each other. Let me tell you what. God dang. You don't see that on TV. We see the racing in the top 15 or whatever on TV. I was watching AJ Allmendinger all day, and that guy, I don't know, Carson Hocevar gets talked about being difficult. AJ Allmendinger was making it difficult on everybody out there. They raced the hell out of each other for 22nd to 36th or whatever. They're digging for spots back there, man. It's a swamp. It's nice, clean racing at the front, and then you get further back, and it's a hornet's nest back there. That's not a shot at my class either. But yeah, great race. I'm not the biggest Chase Briscoe guy in the world, but I'm also not the biggest Christopher Bell guy or William Byron guy. So I was just kind of neutral on whoever won at the end there. We did see Joe Gibbs outside the track before we went in. That was kind of cool. And then his car ends up winning with Chase Briscoe. But like I said, I'm kind of neutral on all three of the drivers that were in contention there at the end. So I just wanted to see a good race, and we got a pretty damn good one. I was hoping for a little more action on the last lap there, but I mean, he got there. So what more can you really want? I mean, if you have a challenge on the last lap, you can't really complain about the quality of the race, especially when it was a 100-lap green flag run to end it. It's not like it was even under false pretenses with a green-white check or anything. It's just a great race. Awesome race. The parking situation was the nightmare that you heard about, though. Getting there, I felt okay. We zigzagged down county roads from North Liberty to Joliet, and we finally hit traffic a mile and a half outside the track, and that's what I was expecting. That probably took about an hour and a half to get from when we hit traffic to getting out of the car in our spot. And I felt like that was fine. I realized we were on country roads, and with the flooding situations that messed everything up down there in Joliet over the NASCAR weekend, I understood and thought we were in a pretty decent spot with that hour and a half to get into a spot. That felt reasonable to me at the time. We got there early enough that we got our walking around in. I'm disappointed with how the merch trailer area has changed over the years. It's not, very much not what I remember from the NASCAR races as a kid, but nevertheless, plenty of time to walk around. Got to our seat, great seats. You can see the whole track. We were in row 20 at the very last section into turn 1. I loved our seats. And then leaving was an absolute nightmare. It's like we started walking. Briscoe did his burnout, and before he even started the interview, we were walking out of the gate and heading back to the car. First off, they routed us a different walking route to where we couldn't even get to where we were parked. We had to jump a fence on the drag strip to get back to our car because they wouldn't let us walk the way that we needed to get to the car. So we're jumping fences on the Route 66 dragway to get back to my car. Then we pull out of the spot where I'm parked, pull into the car, the spot behind the car in line, and there we sat for 2 full hours in that spot. That sounds like an exaggeration. That sounds like I'm being facetious. That's the God's honest truth. It was almost 2 full hours before we moved at all. And then it was another 45 minutes to an hour to get out from when we actually started moving. We almost got into a fight with a guy in a lifted Tacoma because, like, you know, it's chaos in a parking lot in that situation. He lets 4 cars in ahead of me, so I think he's just sitting there. So I start to go, and then he's trying to fight me. Your car sucks. And that's what he said. And his window went up real quick when my buddy started talking back to him. But chaos to get out of that parking lot. 3 hours-ish to get out of the parking lot, 2-hour drive home. I walked in my front door at 2 a.m., alarm went off for work at 5:15 a.m., clocked in at 6:30 a.m. Yeah, it was tough, but man, the race was really fun. I would absolutely go back next year, even despite everything. I would prefer to do it with a camper, and at the very least, I'm taking the next day off. So I can either sleep in the parking lot in my car until stuff starts moving or in the campgrounds until the next morning. But awesome race. No complaints about the race. I don't even necessarily put it on Chicagoland Speedway, the situation to get out of there. I feel like they're taking a lot of heat on social media for what happened, and I think the sheriff's department out there probably deserves a little more of the finger pointing than the racetrack does. With all the flooding they had, I think the racetrack very much did what they could. Maybe leave few more volunteers around at the end to, not volunteers. I don't want, don't put that on a volunteer. A few more employees around at the end to direct traffic in those parking lots. But other than that, I mean, no real complaints about what went down on Sunday with Chicagoland Speedway or NASCAR. Hats off to them. It was a packed house, sold out, and the comments that you see when the racetrack says it's sold out is like, I see empty seats. How you gonna say it's sold out when there's empty seats? Sold out means all the tickets are gone, dummy. That doesn't mean that every seat has an ass in it. It means all the tickets were sold. You can't buy any more tickets from Chicagoland Speedway or NASCAR. Doesn't mean that it's 100% full, dummy. People don't think before they comment on it. Like, people legitimately just like their thought or opinion like being out there. They can't stand keeping it inside. They just have to say it. Just shut up sometimes, dude. Shut up. Not everyone needs to hear your opinion, and you don't have to have an opinion on everything. That's a good lesson for life. But back to race cars. I'm announcing at the New Paris Speedway on Saturday of this week. You'll be hearing this after that's already over, so we'll have a recap of that, I suppose. I guess just a little bit more on the show and what I want it to be. As I've said, and I don't want to just reiterate what I said in the previews, but I still very much enjoy what I do on Top Pro Racing Media. This is just my own outlet to do things. And like I said, the show is going to change and evolve over time. We are going to have guests. I'll have ideas, and I'll get more comfortable. And it's not always just going to be me talking at you like this. That's why I want to do like a live segment, so I can have some chat interaction, and maybe we can go back and forth on some things. We don't have to agree on everything. That's kind of what makes the world go around, is everybody having their own opinion, right? And I think we can have fun discussions on racing together. I don't want to just talk at you all the time. Nobody would enjoy that, I don't think. So we'll make this interactive as time rolls on. But that's going to be it for today. I'll be back with another segment after a little quick transition here in your earballs. Wow. I don't know where that one came from. That one was wild. But we're going to be back. We'll talk whatever happens this upcoming weekend. If you want to predict the future as we listen to this right now, that's on you. I'll give you a moment. Make your predictions for what happens Saturday. I want to do I guess I should also shout out that my family is racing this weekend at M40 Speedway. Derek Davis in his Saturn, and then his driver Dylan Hale in the other 18 car. They'll be at Russell's M40 Speedway in the extreme stock class, which I love M40 Speedway, but I'm also very glad to hear they're changing the name of the extreme stock class. Never was a great fan of that, but so they're going to be racing at Russell's M40 Speedway, and then was along with Rowdy Ronnie Holloway and his fiancee Cheyenne in the Factory 4 division, I believe. And then a big Saturday at Plymouth with the Gambler. Of course, my buddy Evan Verdine will be in his street stock for their portion of the show. And then it sounds like my buddy Hudson Ross is going to be making his debut in that 72-hour number 72 Saturn on Saturday at Plymouth. And boy, could that be a show. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see his reaction to me tagging that onto the end of this here. But we'll be back to talk whatever happened this weekend. Thanks for tuning in here. Welcome back in, race fans. Part 2 of this episode of Bleachers and Features, and this now after the July 11th weekend. I know it's only been a few seconds for you, but it's been several days for me since I recorded that last part, so I got to find my bearings again. Dora Dog in studio with us this time. I know you can't see her, but her presence is now known. I want to start off this part by saying thank you to my nephew / best friend / handler, Brendan Davis, and his girlfriend, Bailey, for being my handlers at the South Bend race on July 4th. Brendan hauled my car and all that, and I didn't exactly make it easy on them. They left and took the car back to the shop early, and I didn't take the transponder off the car, so they had to turn around and go back to the shop. Stupid me. I felt so bad about that. But thank you to them for dealing with me on Saturday. And I didn't mention that my buddy Dakota Milbourne got the A feature win in the Hornet class at South Bend for that July 4th show. Just like with Rich Bowles' street stock win in May at South Bend, if this ends up being the last Hornet feature at South Bend Motor Speedway, it's very fitting that Dakota Milbourne won it. So happy for my buddy. Didn't mention that in the last part, so shout out to my guy. Didn't make it to Hartford on Thursday, as was my original intent for the World of Outlaws show. Paid my bills and looked at the bank account and said, I don't think this one's in the budget. And that's not a shot at a Hartford or World of Outlaws pricing or anything. It's a big show, so it's big show pricing. It just wasn't in Buju's budget this week, unfortunately. Had to make a game time decision on that one. So I ended up staying home Thursday night. Didn't go to a track Friday. Saturday, I announced at the New Paris Speedway. We had a great car count on Saturday at New Paris. With Plymouth running the big Gambler street stock show, and M40 was running a weekly show. Galesburg was running their weekly show. Angola was running their weekly show. I wasn't sure how many cars we'd have in general. I mean, you're going to have Hornets. You can always count on those Hornets. I knew we were going to have them, and the Harmons were going to bring 8 4-cylinders. But wasn't sure how many cars we'd have overall, especially in the street stocks. And we had a full field of street stocks. I think 14 on the property. That's a full field. And pretty good race. Bobby Schuschler ended up winning that one. Controversy of the night, obviously, was with Bug Schuschler in the limited late model class. Got disqualified after the race. Not found illegal. The car wasn't found illegal. It was an infraction involving the tech process, I guess. So here, all right. The track emphasized to the drivers not to have crew members in tech. Apparently, Bug did. I wasn't in the pits. I was in the tower, and I don't make the calls anyway, so it's got nothing to do with me. But that was the word that I heard. Apparently, Bug was told something different, which then makes it kind of messy and a communication problem. Where, from my seat and how the situation was explained to me, I didn't think it was a crazy call to disqualify him based on what the race director communicated. To me, anyway. And that's not my place to give all the details because I'm just an announcer. But from what my seat, I agreed with what the call was made. But again, I wasn't in the pits and I didn't see what happened. I didn't see what happened in tech. I don't know what Bug was told. It's tough. I 100% understand why Bug is mad. If I was in Bug's position, I would be so heated. And I think all of us would. I think the people that made the call would if the roles were reversed. But as I said, from my seat, I didn't think it was an insane call. But I don't know all the details. I will say that if Bug was told something different from what the call was, then yeah, that creates a problem. And I definitely understand why that elevates Bug's annoyance. But I also understand why the track made the call. So it's one of those tough situations where Bug's mad, the track's not happy, and that's going to make other people mad, and it spills over to Facebook, and it turns into just such a messy situation when this is all supposed to be fun, right? I don't know. Like I said, I don't disagree with what the track did. I mean, if you have rules, whether it's on the car or with what happens at your racetrack, and somebody violates that rule, then if you don't enforce the rule, do you have rules at all? But if you're in Bug's position, then it seems like a very silly thing to get disqualified for. At the end of the day, I think Bug's going to be okay. He's super fast in that late model. I don't have any issue with Bug or the Schistlers, nor do I have any issue with New Paris. Obviously, I very much enjoy working there. But yeah, a messy situation, and Bug's still very much the rabbit to chase in that class. I think he'll be back next week. Well, they're off next week. I think that, and that might be a good thing too. I think he'll be back on July 25th when New Paris goes back to weekly racing, and he'll be right back at the front of the field, and he's still the rabbit to chase. That's what I've said, and that when announcing at the track all year is Bug's been the one to chase, and I don't think that's going to change after that situation. Does it suck? I think it sucks for all parties. I don't think it just sucks for Bug, and I don't think it just sucks for New Paris. I think it does suck for both. I saw one side of the situation unfold, and I know that they weren't enjoying it. So, unfortunately, I guess that's part of the game. And if the show was, if this show's going to be honest, I feel like I had to touch on it because it was the talking point of the day on Saturday. And I do want to mention that I kind of feel bad for Kyle Klein in the whole situation because I know it's not the way you want to get a win, and I know some people, especially in the Schisler camp, might not consider it a win. But Kyle Klein didn't make that call. You know what I mean? He happened to be in the right situation, and he got a win. And it's been a tough year for him. I know his dad was dealing with a very scary medical situation. So I was happy that Kyle Klein got a victory. Like I said in Victory Lane to him, I know it's not the way you imagine it, but, I mean, good for Kyle Klein when it comes down to it. I do feel happy for him. I do feel bad for Bug. I do feel bad for New Paris. I know that makes me a middleman, and I'm sure that's going to make somebody upset or something, but I don't know. Just being honest. I kind of see both sides. As far as the rest of the night went, though, let me think about the Hornet feature. That was Chris Powell's, Bailey Powell's father, I believe. Bailey's been the rabbit to chase in the Hornet division down there this year, and then Chris went and got the win because Bailey broke out in Hornet qualifying, had to bump up to the Rayber Dirtworks 4-cylinder class. Chris Harmon won that one again. He's won every feature I've announced at the new Paris Speedway. He's obviously on fire down there. Let me think about Hornet B feature was Jason Foist, also out of the Bailey's camp, out of the Bailey Powell's camp. I think it was his son that I talked to up behind the tower when we were doing the meet and greet portion of the show. And he got to meet Dale Jr. in Chicagoland, and he showed me the picture. I was so jealous of that kid. We talked for like 10 minutes. We're just chopping it up about Dale Jr. in Chicagoland, and damn, I'm jealous of that kid. I think our cat's upstairs tearing stuff up. I don't know what's going on up there. But, yeah, that's the sum of the new Paris show. I really wish the crowds improved. Car count was good this week. It was full fields in... It was full fields in 3 of the classes. Limited late models was not a full field, but that class isn't exactly crushing it anywhere, really, that I've seen or that I'm knowledgeable of. 9, I think we had. With other tracks running, that was pretty solid. And like I said, it was a pretty good race. Bug was down on power. It took the checkered first. Kyle Klein ended up getting the win there. And like I just mentioned, all those tracks racing Angola, Plymouth, New Paris, and M40 were all racing. Those are all within a couple hours of each other, and they all had good car counts yesterday. People act like good car counts, especially for weekly shows, don't exist anymore. It happened yesterday. 4 tracks within 2 hours all had solid car counts. I know it wasn't 150, but a solid car count in 2026 is different than a good car count in 2005 or 1995 or 1985 or 1975. Like, we had full fields in almost every class at New Paris. I think they had full fields in every class at M40. They had full fields at Plymouth. Angola seemed like it was packed. I don't know what happened at Galesburg. I'm uninformed on what happened at Galesburg this weekend. But car count-wise, it was a good weekend for short track racing around here. New Paris still struggled for fans. And, I mean, the promoters see it. The track owners see it. They're not blind to it. They want people in the stands, too. And I've touched this on other shows recently. I think racing speaks for itself. If you get people in the stands, they're going to remember how much they like racing. It's just, how do you get them back? And I don't have the answer, unfortunately. If I did, I'd be doing something more, I guess. But I don't have the answer. People get on Facebook and they complain about, well, there's not enough cars. Well, there were cars this week. You got full races in every class. There was no fans still. I hate it. It sucks to see. I did write down topics for this week, for this segment, so I didn't lose my train of thought so easy. My brother Derek, I mentioned he was racing at M40, did get the win at M40, and I wasn't there to see it. Man, that bums me out, dude. Obviously, Pump My Brother won. It's been a long time since he got into victory lane, since 2022, 2021, 2022, I think. And for somebody who got a lot of wins at South Bend, not winning has been tough on my brother's morale sometimes. So very happy to see him get back into victory lane. Another race where that's not how you vision a win, shortened because of curfew and other drivers not being able to keep it pointed in the right direction, it seems. I haven't seen the feature yet, but he didn't make the call. He was in the lead when they did. That means you're the race winner. They were past halfway, so that's an official race to me. I'm happy for my brother, man. It's been a while, like I said, and it was much needed. So started going to the racetrack because of my brothers, and started racing because of my brothers, and ultimately probably do this because of my brothers. So always happy when that happens. And then my other brother, not by blood, I guess, but best friend since the 5th grade, which is over 20 years now. Oh my God, I'm so old. I've gotten so old. But Ronnie Holloway got the win in the Factory 4 division at the M40 Speedway, so fired up about that as well. I mentioned my buddy Hudson Ross was making his debut at the Plymouth Speedway. He ended up finished 7th in the Hornet class. Kaylee broke out, unfortunately, a little too quick. Evan having a good run in the street stock class. Seems like he might have got a little bit of contact, might have ruined a good run for him, unfortunately. That's kind of the racing weekend in my realm, anyway. Haven't seen too much of what happened around the area this weekend. Just been busy. Shorter show this week. It'll probably be a little longer as things go on. I want to end up playing some race clips and stuff like that on this show. Like M40, Logan Maynard seems like he won an awesome street stock feature yesterday. So definitely want to talk to my media friends and see if we can get some clips on this show, watch some race clips, talk about them. Obviously going to have guests on this show, like I mentioned. This one was all me, and this show's definitely going to evolve from what this one was. This is more just kind of a ramble. But appreciate you guys stopping in. Hope you'll stick around for some more. This should be on Facebook and YouTube, as well as all your favorite podcast streamers like Spotify or Apple Music. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back next Sunday. That is the intent. Hopefully with a little more action for you. I hope I didn't bore you too much on this one. It was very much just a ramble session, but like I said, this is an outlet for me to talk about race cars, and that's what we're going to do here every single week. and it will change, it will evolve, it's going to get bigger, it'll get better, I promise. Thanks for sticking around. This has been Bleachers and Features. I've been Buju. Thanks for sticking around with me, and I will see you at the races.